So the final chapter in Shift is called Fusion. Now, I at first thought, okay, this is where he puts all the chapters together and basically it's like a big math problem, and this is the result and this is the end of the equation. So again, in the beginning of the chapter, he always puts a quote. And this one is, "The master in the art of living makes a little distinction between his work and his play, his labor and his leisure, his mind and his body, his information and his recreation, his love and his religion. He hardly knows which is which. He simply pursues his vision of excellence at whatever he does, leaving others to decide whether he is working or playing. To him, he is always doing both." And I thought that was very interesting because you have a lot of people that go into a major and being very successful in it, but that's just work to them. That's not an exciting experience. I mean, yes, you may have some great times, but at the end of the day, they're just okay with what they're doing. They're not happy and they're not living their life like they wanted to. And I think that I'm in a great position because I love sport and I love being in sport. And it's a little hard right now just to not be able to watch sports. But I think that being a sport business major, yes, you can't always be in love with the team that you're going to be working for, but you still love what you do. And I think that I am in a great position to be able to still love what I do and put both together. So he talks a lot about work-life balance, but then he goes into talking about work-life fusion later on. People are always envious of something in the workplace, whether it is working at home, coming in late, and everything else. So he was talking about where he would go late to work and people would be like, "Oh, you're just getting in now," and people would try and make a negative comment about his life. And honestly, it's kind of crazy because then you start to look back and you realize, oh, other people do the same thing, why are you sitting down? You're not supposed to be, and but you've already done your job or whatever. So I thought that was really interesting how it relates to actual real life scenarios. Then he talks about what his own definition of work is, and then he asks us what ours is. And my personal definition of work is having a goal and creating a path to achieve it. I think that, in work, you have a daily goal where, get those papers, that pile of papers done for the day, and that's your goal, and then you achieve it, hopefully by the end of the day. Your overall goal of work is to make enough money to have a nice house, so that's your goal. You work hard and you get a nice house out of it. So that was my goal, or my definition of work. Then he asked what we need to pay more attention to. And I think there's a lot of things that people need to pay attention to. I don't think it's just one specific thing, but personally I need to pay attention to myself overall. I need to focus on, now being at home, I'm able to stay up late and sleep in. And I think that, it's good to have freedom, but it's also good to have a routine. And I think that I need to focus on, getting a good night's sleep and being able to go to bed a little bit earlier and wake up earlier and start my day earlier and, just focus on little things throughout my day to make it more beneficial and make myself more knowledgeable of different, schoolwork or articles that I can read and podcasts I can listen to, I guess. Then he goes more into depth about work-life balance, and he basically defines it as your work and personal values are frequently in competition. So it's not like you are trying to actually balance, you're trying to balance them in the sense of you want to get equal time working as well as equal time being able to do fun things with your family. But then work-life fusion is where your work and personal views are in sync. So basically, how I interpreted this was being able to know when to stop working, I guess. You know, like a lot of times people say you work 40-hour weeks, but then people end up working 60-hour weeks and so on, and people are working every single day. I know last summer I was working every single day nonstop. And people need to really pay attention to, I guess, you know, saying no about giving opportunities to work, you know, working overtime and all that, just to be able to give some time for yourself and for your family to be able to do something you've been wanting to do. So then he ask what could you better do to sync your personal views with your values at work. And I said that I need to kind of, I guess, lay out, so I'm a visual person, so I think I need to lay out kind of what my values for work are and my personal values are. And I think I need to kind of maybe almost make like a diagram of what my work values are, what my personal values are, and then in the middle, like, how can I blend these together to make them both work and personal values. So I think that's something I could definitely work on and have an exercise and maybe even do it like once a week just to see if they change every week, you know? So I thought that was really beneficial and it made me realize kind of like what I needed to focus on. He then says fusion is not about being a workaholic, which is another thing that I think I need to realize, because I like to work and I kind of like money. So I think that I need to focus less on being more okay with not working as much and focusing on family and friends and going out and having, you know, enjoying life, because you don't know how long you have. Then he says also, work-life fusion is not being on your phone at home, checking your emails when your kids want to play, or firing up your laptop as soon as you walk in the door. So some people I've noticed even have a bad habit of this. It's kind of my parents too. They get home and then they start working on their laptop or pull out something. My dad's always reading emails and his phone's dinging and dinging and he always keeps checking it. It's like, once you're home, I think you need to realize, okay, I'm out of work, I'm done for the night, move on, you know? So, especially like now, some people are working from home and they don't know when to stop, you know? All of a sudden it's 5 o'clock and they've been working since 8 a.m. and they need to, you know, take a break. So he talks about memories and going back and capturing moments that he didn't realize were actually going to be as important as they were. So then he kind of asks, what memories do you wish you could go back on and capture the moment? And I think, I didn't really think this one through beforehand. So I think that I would go back. I don't want to relate it to sport because I've been relating it to sport the whole time. But I'd probably go back to after graduation for high school. My friends and I, took a trip out to Devil's Lake, a camping trip. And I think I would like to go back and capture that moment again. I think about it often because I still talk to some of my friends that I went to that trip with, but not as much as I did or do now. I didn't talk to them as much as I did in high school. And I think that if I went back and captured that moment and really realized like where I was and where I'd be now, I think that I'd probably want to make it more meaningful and really, I mean, I've never camped before, so that was another thing. I should probably be like, wow, I'm in nature, you know, and really just enjoy that. So I'd probably do that one. So, So then he has us ask a question about what is my question of passion. And I guess my question would have been, would future me be happy with the passions I chose and how I executed them? So my passion's always been sport, and in high school, I got a couple D2 offers to play field hockey, and I said no. I decided to go for D3, and I originally was going to be a sonography major. So you got a field hockey athlete being an ultrasound tech, so I thought that was kind of interesting. But obviously that's changed, and now I'm in sport and hospitality. And I think that right now, I don't know. I think high school me would be happy where I am right now, because high school me knew that I actually wasn't that good at science. So I think right now, I think future me would also be happy where I'm at and how I executed them, because I feel like I could go a long way with this major, and I think I'm willing to take risks and do it afraid of just going out and saying yes to opportunities that are handed to me, I guess. Yeah. So then it talks a little bit about the movie, or not the movie, I always think it's Move Matrix. And it talks about a loafer, which is a couch potato, a waster, a busy person who spends time doing unnecessary things he or she doesn't necessarily enjoy, a pretender, a hypocrite, or person who doesn't do what she says. A master is a captain, or a person who is in control of his or her life. Eliminator is kind of basically a trash can. That's what he kind of makes it sound like. So, I don't know. I think that I think I'm mixed all over. I'm kind of a loafer in the sense of I'm not doing enough to finish my... I'm doing enough to finish my schoolwork, but I don't think I could go above and beyond. Especially within the last 2 to 3 weeks, I could be studying extra hard and making, note cards and everything. But my waster would probably be... I don't know. Probably... I have no idea what my waster would be. My pretender would be hypocrite, or person who doesn't do what she says. Well, I don't eat healthy, and that's probably what my pretender would be, I guess. My master, I guess, I'm probably mainly a master right now, because I'm controlling my own life, because I don't really have much to do. Because we're just kind of sitting at home, so I'm just kind of taking control of my homework and job applications, and that's probably what my master is. But then he says, if you don't like what is standing between you and your ideal life, move it. And I think that's important to understand, because if you're doing things that are an obstacle in your way, I think that what's the point in continuing it, and just move it out of the way, or even put a pin in it and go back to it later, because if it's not that important right now, it may not be important later on. He says, work-life fusion will get more difficult as your children grow and your parents age. Life is full of curveballs. The key is to remain flexible and always assess and adjust your passions and priorities. And I think how I interpreted this was that he says, like, your passions and your priorities are going to change as you grow older. Once you get married, you are going to want to prioritize things about, like, how to be with your spouse more often, or, your passions may change because you may fuse your passions with that person. And I think that, it's important, like you said, to remain flexible. Don't be so cut off that, if you have a passion and they have a passion, you can't do it together. I think that you should be able to kind of, if you do their passion, you might actually end up loving whatever it is that they want to do. And, vice versa. They might actually enjoy something that you love. And I think that's important to kind of just open your eyes and realize that. And then lastly, he says, every minute is a chance to do something meaningful. If you're just sitting at home and you don't, I guess, you're just watching the world go by, what are you kind of doing for life, I guess? That's kind of how I interpret it. Like, how are you making the life and the world and yourself better overall? And I think that is kind of an important quote to have in the back of your mind, just to constantly be like, okay, is this what I'm doing? Is this meaningful? How can I make it meaningful? And I think that's important to think about as you go on in life. So, yeah, that's what I think of this shift, and I think it's a great book. And as you can see, I've got lots of note cards and everything to keep going back and looking at those important things that I jotted down. So, yeah, thank you.